we're introducing ourselves, and the name of our show is Ram and Goat.
Ram and Goat, exactly. And we're Ram and Goat. And should I explain why we're called Ram and Goat?
I think so, for sure.
Okay, so Ram is Aries and Goat is Capricorn, because you, Laura, you're an Aries sun, and I am not a Capricorn sun, but I have both my moon and my ascendant in Capricorn, so I feel way more Capricorn-y than Leo-y. So that's why Ram and Goat.
Yes.
You're the ram, I'm the goat.
I love it. I love it. And I love both of those animals.
Yeah, and both of them have these nice, what do you call them?
Horns.
Horns.
Head-butting devices.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like both of these signs are can be very stubborn, but also get things done.
Yeah. Well, and help to facilitate change.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Aries energy is it is a let's do it. Let's just go. We don't have to ask questions. We don't have to ask permission. We can just do the things we want to do because they're interesting to us. And a Capricorn is very CEO leadership, structure and do the work and dig in and make sure you are diligent about it. So they have different energy, but they work together really well. Yeah. And I'm married to a Capricorn and who shares the same birthday as my mother, a Capricorn. And my older brother is a Cap rising and Cap moon as well.
I wonder if am I like your brother? Do you think that we're similar?
No, you're Leo, really. You're Leo moon or Leo sun, and Mercury in Cancer are way different than his Taurus. So
okay, he's a Taurus sun, and Taurus, like Mercury in Taurus as well. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So he's just ultra earthy, where you've got the earth, but you got the fire and the water, and you got all kinds of other stuff playing.
Yeah,
and that's why I love doing people's birth charts, because there's so many other influences than just the sun sign.
Yeah, with like snowflakes.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Charts are like snowflakes.
They are like snowflakes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So we are working together to help people understand themselves.
Yes.
And play around with the planets and understand the energies of the planets.
Exactly, because it's so much fun. And I wanted to ask, can I ask you, Laura?
Yeah.
How did astrology find you?
Oh, that's such a good question. Someone in my brain went, I don't know. It has always actually been a thing in my life. I have a wooden plaque about this big that I had on my bedroom wall growing up, for as long as I can remember. And it had a picture of a ram and then Aries, and had the dates of the Aries. And then it had a little poem about Aries energy. And I would wake up when I was little and just read that to myself. And so it's really always been there, always. It really got strong though, probably around the time I started having children. And I attribute that because my firstborn is Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Mercury, and 55% of his chart is in Earth signs, and I don't have any Earth signs, so I didn't understand him at all. I was very, very conflicted and confused with how to deal with my own child. And so I had to start diving in to understand who it is I created and stop trying to change him to be like me. And I had to change myself to communicate better with him and facilitate a healthier relationship. So I think about 13 years ago is when I got pretty hardcore into it, based on.
So it just kind of popped up again when you gave birth, and then you're like, whoa, and then you remembered something about, why don't I use astrology to see who this person is?
Yeah, pretty much. And I had just started understanding the concept of birth charts just before that, maybe a year before that. So I had a friend who introduced them to me and explained, and then I just didn't stop. So yeah. And I use it pretty much daily now, and I love helping people understand themselves and especially their relationship with their loved ones, whether it's a spouse or their children or their mother, whatever the issue is, because there's always crap with relationships.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So how about you? How'd you get started with astrology?
It's sort of similar. I feel like I have this memory of I had a little book about it was like the little book of Leo when I was a kid. I don't know who gave. I think it might have been my grandma who gave it to me, like this little tiny book, and it was small, but it was a lot of information, and I used to read it and be so fascinated with myself, like, whoa, this is me. And then, you know, always reading like in the newspaper the horoscopes for the sun signs, and like religiously, and like reading it to all my friends and everyone, like, it's bogus, and you know, it's just a sun sign, so it's
Well,
hard
sometimes it can
to,
feel bogus. Yeah. Sometimes
yeah.
those general newspaper horoscopes are like, and sometimes they're spot on.
Sometimes they are, yeah, but they're also super like vague and wide, and like this can happen, and also this might not happen.
I do
But
wonder the people who read these or create those horoscope sun sign things for the newspaper, I do wonder what they're basing that off of, right? So if they look and say, okay, for Leo sun, this is going on. And my brain goes, well, are you looking at the house placement? Are you looking at other planets? Like, where are you getting that information from, right? I always wondered that. And as an astrologer, I still wonder that. Like,
yeah,
where are they pulling that from?
I guess just like the transits, but it would be so hard because you don't know where, if, let's say, if you're Leo, an astrologer who writes these horoscopes wouldn't know what degree of, I mean, everyone is born different degrees of Leo. So it's not like you can either like say a specific transit either, because it won't hit the whole Leo part of the zodiac chart.
Right.
So it is, I guess, writing those, if they must write it pretty vague, because it's such like a, yeah, it's just vague.
It's not detailed enough. My brain wants to get into the nitty-gritty details of things.
Yeah.
So.
But then I got more and more interest, started buying books when I was around 20, and then like a year and a half ago, it just called me. And I started reading these books that I've had forever, like really reading them, and like, whoa, learning so much about myself, learning so much about my family. And that's when I was like, this is really, really helpful. And I think because I went through like a difficult Pluto transit, and then that led me to other things, which led me to a course to study astrology. And that's how we met.
That's how it worked.
Yeah.
And your course to study astrology and all of that, with you, your planet of Saturn is right next to the planet Uranus, and Uranus is the planet that kind of rules astrology. And your urge to work hard in this life is tied into this unique approach of life and this unique and kind of weird way of viewing life. And so astrology is going to make sense for you and who you are and your chart and everything. So I love it.
And it's in the 11th house as well.
Exactly. And you said when you were 20, you started?
That's when I was like...
Your Saturn square Saturn at the time.
Oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. This is what it's like with astrology. It's always like, oh, and like new things pop in, and it's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
And you see the pieces.
Yeah, and I love that you see the picture of the puzzle, and then all of a sudden you add more and more layers of astrology, and the picture almost gets like better clarity and more definition. Yeah. And it's like watching a program from 1950 and then watching these high definition CGI movies now. Like, it's not even in the same realm. And that's what happens where 1950s show is like, oh, we understand ourselves, right? And then you have an astrology reading and learn about yourself and dive in. And now you've got this clarity like you've never had before, and the details and the vision of who you are in your life path. It's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's so many layers and so many, it really adds a lot of dimensions to your understanding of yourself, that like I had no idea I had so many different sides to me. Right. And it's so nice to see all of those energies sometimes as separate, because then I'm like, I can look at them separately and then I understand myself, because when you have all of it like that, it can be hard and messy.
Be overwhelming. And I think a lot of people get confused at first because they'll have this one aspect that will say this about them, and then they'll have another aspect, and it's directly, you know, opposite of this. And they go, well, how can that be me? And I look at them and say, don't you feel conflicting energies within you frequently? And then they go, oh, I said, we're multi-dimensional people, you know, like we don't have things that are necessarily harmonious within us. We don't necessarily all carry harmonious energy. Some of us do, but some people's charts are really disharmonious, and they have to learn to kind of work with those energies and be okay with that. And it's interesting once you start diving in and seeing all that. I love it. I love helping people with that.
Yeah. We're so complex as human beings. We're super complex.
So complex. I know a lot of, you know, if you follow energy workers and Joe Dispenza and all of these like quantum physics physicists, they will say we are a spiritual being having a human experience. We are not a human being. We are a spiritual being having this human experience, which is just a short blip on the radar. And astrology pulls in other experiences from other lives and generations, and it's just super interesting when you start diving down that rabbit hole too.
Yeah, because maybe not so many people know that, but actually in your birth chart, you can see, you can sort of see past life stuff as well, and you're the expert of that, Laura.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but thank you. It's definitely a strong interest of mine, and seems to be a natural area that I focus on, is past life or generational trauma, and then applying that to people's current health issues, whether it's a physical health issue, a hormonal imbalance, weight issues, like whatever it is. I'm able to help identify the root cause, like not even right now, but back before, and identify that root cause and how that's pulling forward and how that's affecting you on a daily basis, whether it's your mental health or whatever. And that seems to be I don't know if it's a talent or an interest or what it is, but it's definitely something that I'm super into.
Yeah, it's probably both.
Probably. But both of us have a 12th house moon, which kind of makes us emotionally tied into that past life stuff and that generational stuff. So emotionally, we're very good at holding space for people as they're purging that garbage and as they're dealing with that. So that's kind of a talent of a 12th house moon person.
But also, like, at the same time, ourselves probably like are also pretty good at hiding our feelings a little bit.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, 12th house, like under the surface sort of stuff.
It's way easier to deal with other people's stuff than my own.
It's funny. I feel like I'm meeting a lot of like 12th house moon people.
Yeah. Oh, it's showing up big time for me. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting how I meet people. I ask them for the birth info. They give it to me, and I'm like, oh, look at that. Right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Does Philip have it?
He does. My husband.
And my boyfriend has it too.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I was just reading this morning about 12th house moons and how there's a major karmic thing we chose in this life to heal that is basically healing beyond our own garbage. So we are here. We chose this path so that we can help heal a lot of karmic stuff that isn't of us in this life. So like generational, whether it's grandma's or past life or other people's, we are here to really help with that. And I'm like, yep, that's pretty much what we do.
Yeah. I mean, from what I know from you, that sounds spot on. And for myself also, the position I have in my family, I feel like, I agree with that. Yeah.
That's it, for sure. What other questions you got for us there, Helena?
Let's see. I wrote, who are we? We sort of explained who we are.
We are. But did we say our names? Do we?
Oh, no, I don't think we have.
And where we live.
Okay. You want to introduce yourself?
I am Laura Lee Lotto, and I live in Northeast Wisconsin, right by Lake Michigan. And I have a 35-acre farm that my husband and I do organic farming. We have flowers and produce and fruits and berries. And then we have 4 children that we homeschool. My son is 13. My daughters are just turned 9, and one of them's almost 11. And then I have a little baby one who is 17 months. and I am an astrological health coach intuitive. So I help people utilizing astrology, aromatherapy, nutrition, and a little bit intuition, and help them get on their highest path of health and healing. And I've had a huge, crazy story of health, which is in my birth chart, and health issues and whatnot most of my life. And I'm now 40, and I am the healthiest I've ever been, ever. And I want to help people find a different way other than pharmaceuticals. So that's my spiel. And who are you, Helena?
So I am Helena, and I'm from Sweden. And I am a woman in my Christ year, 33 years old. And what do? I feel like I jump around between so many things. I have a full-time job doing something completely different than all my woo-woo interests. And on the side of my full-time job, I garden, I do astrology. I'm a reflexologist as well, so I do reflexology. And my main, like, I really want to help people. That's sort of why I studied reflexology as well, and astrology, because I really felt like I want this knowledge to help my family and like my friends around me to use something else than all these pharmaceuticals. That's also why I don't agree with this view of just looking at the problem and like putting a band-aid on it, which is what's happening.
No, I very much view health as a pie, and if you slice a pie into 8 or 12 pieces, I feel like allopathic medicine or Western medicine, pharmaceutical-based medicine is one slice of the pie, and they ignore the other 11 slices. Like emotional health and familial health and all of your family and how your mental health and relationships, and ignores nutrition and ignores all of it. We're just not going to look at any of that,
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, these things are like Western medicine is so great in when you really need it. It's amazing. But it shouldn't be the go-to.
No, if you have a busted leg and your bones are sticking out, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go get some antibiotics. And
Don't go to an astrologer.
Right? Like, go do that. But that is not the solution for a lot of the things that people are dealing with, whether it's anxiety or depression or even weight issues or whatever. I can see most of that in people's charts, and I usually can pinpoint exactly what the issue is, and it's really about addressing it from a whole different unique perspective.
Yeah.
So,
and sort of seeing it like, I feel like maybe Western medicine could be like the last destination where everything else hasn't worked out yet. And that's also where you end up when you've been ignoring your problems for a long time.
Yes.
When you haven't felt them in your energy bodies and all of this.
Yeah.
Because we do, if we listen, most of the time we feel something coming, and we can,
I would say all the time we feel something coming. It's just that our system we live in is a system that encourages you to ignore what your body is telling you and keep pushing on, right? Like, oh, you have a migraine. We'll take this migraine pill and go back to work, right? Oh, you have ongoing chronic sinus issues. Just take this medication and you'll go back to work, right? Instead of honoring, why are your sinuses constantly inflamed? Why do you constantly have your brain telling you it's not okay, right? Your body's speaking to you. And I like to use the analogy for pain, PAIN. Pay attention inside now. If you have pain, you stop and go internal and say, what are you telling me? What do I need? Why am I dizzy? Why do I have blood pressure issues, right? Like, what is my body speaking to me? And there's tons of books out there that help connect that. And that's also what I do too. But, astrology is one tool, and it's the one that you and I love the most, but I love utilizing for health issues. That's my jam.
Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, if you can, it's like that pie you described. It's amazing. Like, you have astrology, you have aromatherapy, you have like body work and all of these different things, and
nutrition.
Yep.
I love it. I love it.
One amazing pie.
One great pie.
One
Happy
amazing
one.
And also, you know what I thought would be fun? If we would look at the birth chart of this pod.
Yes.
Yeah, because this pod that we're making is born today. This is the first episode we're recording.
Yes, it is.
So technically it's the birth of it.
I like that.
But I was thinking, because it's different for you and me. Like, what places do we put in? Like, you will put Wisconsin, and I will put Stockholm. But you put Wisconsin. You put your place, and then we'll look at that.
I like.
And then later we can look at Stockholm, and we can see the differences. Because maybe that's how it will affect you, and then the other is how it will affect me.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. Okay, let's plug this in here. Hang on. Oh, that makes so much sense. I like that, because where would you put that? Okay, let me add this in. So what time were we born here today?
Oh, a few minutes past 11 your time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, was it quarter past? Did we?
It was about
computers open.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Interesting.
Ram and Goat. So we've got the 25th of July, 2022. And I'll do my time first, and then we'll switch it and add it to yours and see what that is. We've got Algoma. And so astrology changes based on location on the planet. So here's how I explain astrology to people. We are all squishy beings, right? Our brain is a squishy tissue, and we know for a fact that our brain and other things of our body are very much affected by frequency. We actually have rays called X-rays that can penetrate the body to take pictures. We have MRI scanners. Those are all different frequencies. They literally shoot into us to get imaging. So we know this technology to be true. The planets all have their own measurable frequency and wavelength. So when we are created, we are inside our mother, so we're protected by her, and then we're inside a water-filled chamber too. So we've got like a double protection. Now it doesn't matter how you were born, C-section or vaginal or whatever, but when your brain comes out, you are downloaded with the frequencies of the planets, and that's your programming you get to walk through life with. And it's kind of like the programming that your computer has when you purchase your computer. It has an operating system. So where you're located on the planet depends on how the frequency hits you and at what angle. Because if Mars is over there and I'm in Wisconsin, but Mars is over here and Helena's over here in Sweden, the frequency is going to hit her totally different. So you need to know where on the planet you're located and what time, because again, the planets shift and move constantly. So knowing the time is very important.
Yeah.
So that's how I like to explain astrology to people and kind of get them a basic understanding of that. So we are let me change the this chart here.
Yeah, because also if you don't have the time or the place, you won't know where your ascendant is. You will see a lot of the planets, but for example, the moon moves very fast, so you won't see the moon and you won't see the houses pretty much. But the slow-moving planets, as long as you know what day you're born, you can see them.
So this is the birth chart of our show. Here we go. So we are a sun in Leo by 2 degrees. We are a moon in Gemini. Thank you so much, Gemini moon. I appreciate that.
I knew that one. I was like, I like that.
We are a Mercury in Leo. So we got a fire, air, fire, and a Venus in Cancer. So we really, and an MC in Cancer. So
I love that.
We were just talking about using astrology to heal, and now we just discovered live that our show we're doing has a career and a Venus, what we love and relationships, in the sign of healing and mothering and nurturing specifically your emotions. Oh my God, it makes me so excited. So excited. And then we've got, let's see, we got a Libra rising. So we're all about relationship, and we are doing this as a relationship podcast.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So that
makes sense.
Fun.
That's pretty fun.
We've got a Jupiter opposite Libra rising. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got our day-to-day work and routine, and how we're of service to others is Neptune in Pisces. So that means the planet of intuition and spirituality is in the sign of intuition and spirituality literally every time we meet. Yay.
Yeah.
I love this chart.
Yeah, I really like that too. Pluto in the 4th house.
So we dig in and help people transform and regenerate and work hard. Capricorn is about working hard. And we do it in a very nurturing, family-like way and help people with their family. Yeah.
Exactly. The 4th house sort of symbolizes like your childhood and like your home, basically. Yeah.
And we have to work hard with our weird creativity. Saturn wants us to have fun and work hard having fun and be weird and creative. Saturn in Aquarius. I'll take that. That works.
I like it. And it's trine moon in Gemini. I like that too.
But we've got to work hard with our regeneration and rebirth and renewal. Our 8th house has some heavy stuff.
That happened in the 8th house, because I knew this is here, this crazy stellium in Taurus that we're having right now with Mars, Uranus, and the North Node. But they all happen to fall in the 8th house of this birth chart.
Yes. How are you interpreting that?
Well, so Uranus is the planet of sort of chaos, but also like invention, and rebellion. Yeah. Mars is the planet of like combat, fire, passion, your drive. So you put those together, and that sounds fun.
And we're going to generate and renew ourselves as we do it, huh?
Yeah. Whoa, that's pretty powerful. And I mean, I'm not going to lie, it sounds a little scary too. But
think about
there's no growth without scary, right?
That's exactly. I was like, think about what we're doing. We're literally creating this show to bring people on, to talk about this, to educate, and to really connect with people in a new way that maybe they've never looked at astrology before. And it is going to cause them some discomfort, and it is going to be weird and unique, and it is going to be a little chaotic, right? And our drive is to help people rebirth, really. Yeah. Let an old part of them die and let a new part reemerge. So this makes so much sense for me, actually. Like, I would be surprised if it was in anything else.
I love it. And I love that.
I see with Mars square to Mercury, what that tells me is you and I have an intensity of communication. And so Mercury is how we think and communicate in Leo. So we're very much forcefully and excitedly, happily, right, telling people how they can make big changes in their life. And we're going to do it in a grounded, calm way, but it's going to be intense, right? Like you don't get a reading with us and walk away going, oh, gee, I didn't learn nothing.
No, it will be like pretty assertive.
Yeah, exactly. You have an Aries sun and a Leo sun telling people what to do. Exactly. It'll be all right, everybody. We're probably not selling this on getting people to work with us.
Well, maybe I would be intrigued.
Good.
And also Uranus is trining Pluto.
Yes. That's a really lovely energy. So the trines, these trines are almost like a gift. So our ability to creatively and uniquely help people do those deep transformations is really kind of our strong suit. We almost take like the scariness out of it, because Pluto can be scary and 8th house stuff can be scary. And I think with this trine between these two, It's almost like, here, let me hold your hand and light up the dark for you with our fireball, right? So that it's not so scary to do these transformation things you need to do.
That's amazing. Yeah, because Pluto can be a little daunting for some. If you know a little bit of astrology, you might have heard that Pluto is like the planner of death and rebirth, and that sounds pretty major, and it is. But it just wants us to heal, and it wants us to transform and look at how we can be better and to heal. So yeah.
Exactly. So as far as our elements are concerned, we have fire Jupiter, fire Chiron, fire Sun, and fire Mercury. We have air rising sign. We have Saturn in air and Moon in air. And then from Earth, we have Pluto, Mars, Uranus, and North Node. And water, we've got our lovely Venus there and our MC, or our career house, and then Neptune. So I feel like there's some good balance.
So balanced.
Yep. Yep. There's some good balance. Definitely. This is a lovely chart. All right. So now I'm going to change that to your information.
My time.
Yeah. So let's do
that.
that.
I'm a little nervous.
Do you have another question while I'm doing this?
What I wrote down, like how has astrology helped you? But you sort of answered that a little bit before. Maybe you can tell us some more about like how do you use it every day? Huh?
I can go in deeper in that. I know astrology. I know this is something. So my husband and I have been together for 23 years. We were high school sweethearts, and he's 39, and we've been married for 20 years. So that's, if you do the math. We have utilized astrology to really get through some really tough spots in our marriage, like really tough spots. I think if we didn't have astrology to turn to and didn't understand or didn't look up certain stuff, if I wasn't so insatiably curious, I don't know if we would still be together. I really don't. It's that, I want to say, it has had that much of an impression on my life, because when things felt so chaotic, I was able to look at what was happening in his chart. He was actually having a lot of Pluto transits at the time, a lot. And it was really, really tough, and it was affecting every area of his chart. And he was in a really down place, physically, emotionally, mentally. He was just not in a good place. So being a health coach, I'm constantly working on being curious and not furious. So this was something that I utilized to help understand what my marriage was going through and why my husband was behaving in a way he had never behaved before, right? Like this was only in 2018, so this wasn't too long ago. And we've been together since 1999. So I've known this man. And so when I saw this sudden shift of personality or behavior or whatever, I was like, what is going on, right? So my brain immediately knew this isn't who he is. This is a phase he's working through. If I was not able to decipher those two things and split those apart, we would not be together. No, it would be totally different. My children would be in a divorced home. Like my baby wouldn't be here. We would not have our farm. Things would not be good. They just wouldn't. And it would not have been a good split. Like it just wasn't, So I think for me, I have utilized astrology so profoundly for so many intimate things in my life that I can't not quote unquote believe in it, right? There's a lot of people like, I don't believe in it. I was like, that's cool. I do. Because it's really made such a huge impact in my life. So that's a little bit about, one specific story about how it has worked for me. What about for you?
I mean, the same. I think it's very, very helpful to look at the transits. It's what's happening right now. And I see the people around me and I see how it hits them. And I know it's going to be like, sometimes I can see that, okay, there's going to be a pretty chaotic time for you. Right. And so I have way more compassion for that person during that time. Yeah. And that really helps me because I don't get frustrated in the way that I would have hadn't I known this. And that helps the other person because then they are shown affection and they get the space to actually feel and maybe let out how they are feeling and to go through those emotions and to move move through that transit.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm going to pop up the chart here for you. And this is a really neat thing that we're doing to, oh, what am I sharing here? Not the right thing. Hang on. You're sharing your screen. Hang on. Let me share the right screen.
It's so different. It looks so different.
Yeah, let me get the right thing here. Here we go. It does look so different. And this is why I want, is it 6:15 p.m.? Did I get the right time for you?
Yep.
Okay. This is why I wanted people to see this, because this is actually quite fascinating how much it changes from being born here versus being born by you.
Yeah.
Interesting. So all of the planets are still in the same signs. If you notice, the things that change are the houses, and the house sizes are changed as well, because Helena's way further north from the equator, and that affects how things show up and how the houses are, and depending on the season as well. So it's summer seasons, so certain houses are emphasized for her, and in winter season, other houses will be emphasized. So this is interesting. So we've got a 7th house, Moon and Venus. We've got a career in Libra now, and mine was a Libra rising, and yours is interesting. And now we've got an 8th house starting in Cancer here. What jumps out at you?
So first I was like, oh, Sagittarius rising. I like that.
Yeah.
Because I like Sagittarius energy. It's sort of, well, I think about like traveling, education, and also being very like straightforward with your ideas. And that's something that I want to like enhance in myself. So I like that. And maybe I get to travel with, who knows?
Right? Maybe it's,
it's sort of traveling. It's through like, I mean, you're over there, I'm over here. Maybe we're going to talk to people all over the world.
Which would be really cool, and such a Sagittarius thing to do. I mean, Sagittarius rules travel, but not necessarily physical. It can be astral travel or internet travel. And I feel like every time I come out to my office and I sit out at my farm in Algoma, Wisconsin, and then I log in and I'm talking to Sweden or Bali or France, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah. And then, I mean, MC in Libra, I like that. I was a little bit nervous before I saw this chart. I'm like, what if it's going to show something terrible? I mean, a chart is never terrible, but it can be more challenging.
Yeah.
But I like MC, the MC position in Libra, because I mean, this is so much about relationships, like how this you and me, and then when we're going to talk to people, I mean, all of our lives are full of relationships, and yeah, I like that.
I would say people's biggest challenge, because it's one thing to do your own self-care and work on your own self and be like, yeah, I'm high vibing, I got my things good, everything's good, and then you go have lunch with your mom and you're like, never mind.
Never mind.
I clearly have work to do, never mind. Right? Yeah. Like a relationship can knock you off your feet faster than you even see it coming. So I feel like relationships are really the thing I love to focus on. Well, I have 3 planets in Libra, so that makes sense. But it's so important to recognize that that's what can really throw you off, even though you feel very centered and balanced. You enter a new person and then So I love that this is I'm a Libra rising and you're a Libra MC. I love that.
Yeah.
Look at, we got 8th house stuff again. So for my chart, we had Mars, Uranus, and North Node in the 8th house. For you, it's Sun and Mercury.
Exactly.
I like that. This is so cool to see the 2 charts.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. And yeah, it's I'm like just looking around, and like I'm looking at the 3rd house. So like Neptune, Jupiter, and Chiron falls in the 3rd house for me, and the 3rd house is sort of the house for communication, and we have Neptune, who is the nebulous, like
spiritual connection, intuition.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, that intuitive vibe we've got going is in communication, and then we've got our 7th house of partnerships is starting in Gemini. So again, communication. And Sag really is a good communicator, and Libra is about communication. So this chart really emphasizes intense communication. I like this.
Yeah.
It's so neat to see how it just, all we did was change the birth location of our show, and that's it. Like everything else is the same. Like if you were to have a baby born in Algoma, Wisconsin at 11:15 today, and Stockholm, Sweden at 6:15 today, this is what their charts would look like. They would be similar people, but they would be, their energy would show up very, very differently, which is why birth charts are so cool.
It's so cool. It's so cool because like the different houses sort of show you where you will have these energies in your life.
Yeah. And that's I think such a huge thing to know when you are learning about astrology, is knowing where your issue or where your strength will show up time and time again, right? If you are an artist, you probably have some Libra stuff, some Aquarius stuff, and you probably have some fifth house stuff. Like that's the artist's areas that it shows up in. And if you have this constant issue of relationship after relationship, issue, you might have your Saturn in Libra, or you know what I mean? Like, or in the seventh house. So these houses really help you to understand where the energy of the planet will continually manifest. So you get to create awareness around that energy and go, oh, hang on, I'm starting a new job. And every time I start a new job, chaos happens. Well, girl, you probably have Uranus in the 10th house. Let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
You know? So it's, for you, it's chaos in the 5th house of creation. So that's something to take note on.
Yeah.
So creativity and fun is going to be weird and eccentric, and I like this. This is fun.
I like it too. Yeah.
So I think, do you have any more questions for us?
Let's see here. Who are we? How do we know each other? Well, through maybe we didn't, I said that we met through course.
We
never met in real life. We have never met in real life.
That's coming. Yeah. You've got a Sagittarius rising now. That's coming.
Yeah.
We actually took Deborah Silverman's applied astrology school. Went to her school, and I loved it. I thought it was very nice. If you're interested in astrology and would like something further, her program really breaks it down in an easy to swallow, easy to digest way. She's got 1, 2, and 3, and I really enjoyed it. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, for sure. I loved it. And I mean, I really loved all of that and all the information, everything I learned, but I do feel like meeting you through it was the best thing about it. I mean, I feel like this, I mean, hadn't I met you, it would have been really cool. I would have had all the information, and now I know so much about astrology, more than I knew before. But because since when the course started, we started talking to each other every week. We became assigned study buddies.
Yes.
Someone else assigned us, like Laura and Helena. Whoop, you're study buddies now.
Hang on, do you know why that happened? Because neither you nor I had done our homework ahead of time, and neither of us had requested study buddies at the time we were supposed to. So we were both like, "Oh, sorry, we need some."
Yeah.
Our procrastination won. Yay!
Exactly. It was meant to be. It was meant to be. And now we talk. We have spoken to each other every single week since during the course and after the course finished. For months and months, we have seen each other every week to talk about astrology. And then you were like, we should record this, all these conversations we're having. And that's sort of why we wanted to start this podcast. And so I really think that's, I mean, yeah.
It's one of those kind of karmic kind of things where the energy just is like, "Ooh, I like that one," and then the energy just comes together. And I think those meetings are probably some of the most fascinating to my brain. Like, I just love this internet world. Well, I have my son in the 11th house, So 11th house is ruled by Aquarius and ruled technology. So like, and community and connecting with foreign people. And I'm all like, bring me all of the foreign everybody. And that does. And I love it. So it works so well for me to do this. And I know you clearly have a thing for you've lived all over the world.
Yeah, well, yeah, I lived in Australia for 4.5, 5 years, and then I haven't really lived anywhere else, but I traveled a lot.
Yeah.
I traveled a lot. My boyfriend's from Mexico, so I've been there a bunch of times for long periods and love traveling. Haven't traveled now for a few years though.
Right.
But I love it.
Now you're doing internet travel.
Now I'm doing this sort of traveling.
Excellent. So when we are doing these shows, what are we going to be focusing on? What's our focus? So if anyone wants to tune in and watch us.
Yeah, so I think mainly we're going to be here talking about astrology. And also because you do aromatherapy work, and you're like a health coach as well, intuitive health coach. So we're going to bring that in as well. And I'm super interested in herbs. We're going to bring that in. And I think mostly astrology, but a lot of fun themes around it.
I think astrology with a health flair.
Yeah, exactly.
And we definitely have to bring your reflexology in, because I think people very, very underestimate how much care they should give their feet.
Yeah, you know what? I actually, I just came from my friend's house, and she's moving and she's going through a lot. So I was like, okay, put your feet up here. Give me your feet. I'm going to give you some reflexology. And she's like, okay. Because she knows that it can hurt. It can hurt.
Yeah.
But I gave her reflexology, maybe like half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. Pretty gently. And then after I was done, I was like, you stay here and I'm just going to leave quietly and you stay and rest. And she just texted me when we were talking, and she said, I woke up 30 minutes ago. Thank you so much for the magical.
You knocked her out.
Yeah. That's what it does too. And it's great. Yeah. I love it.
That's fun. So we'll be taking some live people to do readings with, and then also for our show, and then we'll also be doing readings for people if they would like to go more in depth with us off the camera as well, or off the recording. And so we can dive in and take clients that way, and you get a astrology reading from two people, which is exciting, because you get with astrology interpretation, and that's exactly what it is. It's interpretation. So same thing with sign language or any kind of interpretation. It is a not verbatim translation, right? Like this does not necessarily equal this. It kind of equals this, this, and this. But the way Helena views it versus me, you get other flavors and other flares thrown in there, and people see things in different patterns that maybe another person wouldn't see. So I like working with people, my 3 planets in Libra, but thank you very much. I love working with people because it gives you a bigger picture, a different perspective. Whereas if I came in and just did me, maybe you get this much information. Whereas you have 2 people and you get like a whole different view, because she's got a different interpretation than me. And when we combine those, it's magic.
Magic happens. And I have my sun in the 7th house, also of relationships.
Nice. So again, that's ruled by Libra. So if her sun is in the 7th house of relationships, and I have my Mars, how I drive through life, Saturn, I work hard, very, very hard on relationships, and Pluto, I transform with relationships, and I help people to transform. Those are all really good indicators that we will then help people, other people, do some deep transformations and work well with other people. So if you're interested in joining us for a reading or being live on our show, let us know. We'd be happy to work with you.
Yeah. And just to clarify, when we're talking about the charts now, this is our personal charts, not the birth chart for the podcast. This was us talking about your personal birth chart and my personal birth chart.
Yes.
Yeah. So where should they email if they want to get in touch with us.
We'll put all of that in the show notes below, and you can click on whatever links are there, and that will take you to the booking site and to the email site and all of that stuff. So they can connect with us that way.
Perfect. And next time we record, we're going to be talking about my solar return chart, because I am turning 34 on Wednesday. Yeah.
Exciting. So a solar return chart, we'll dive into that on our next episode, but a solar return chart is looking at the chart for the year. It's almost like your sun coming back around makes a new contract with the world and with the planets. So it's called a solar return because it's a powerful moment when we come into birth and we come into life. And it's a powerful moment each year that returns. And so it's a new kind of contract. And so we're going to check out the new contract that you get to make this year and see what the flavors and energies are for you this year.
I'm intrigued.
I am too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Helena. This is a great intro, and we'll be back with some more shows.
We will. Bye.
Bye.